When I turned 60, I started forgetting names, misplacing keys, and even losing my train of thought mid-sentence. I thought it was just normal aging, until one small habit completely changed the way my brain functioned. Today, I'm sharper, calmer, and more focused than I've been in decades, and I want to share exactly what I did to get here. If you're over 60 and feel like your mind isn't as sharp as it used to be, this could be the most important video you watched this year. It didn't happen overnight. That's the scary part. If someone had asked me in my early 60s how my memory was, I probably would have said, not bad for my age. I could still hold conversations, remember birthdays, even fix things around the house without needing to Google every step. But now, looking back, I realize I was already starting to slip. It started with the little things. I'd walk into the kitchen and completely forget what I went in there for. I'd open the fridge and just stare at it blankly, like something magical would jog my memory. I laughed it off, senior moments, I called them. Even my family joked about it. But deep down, I wasn't laughing. Then it got worse. That one day, I was at the grocery store. I'd been going to that same store for over 20 years. I knew the aisles like the back of my hand. But that day, I stood in front of the shelves of canned beans and felt completely disoriented. I couldn't remember what brand my wife always bought even, though we'd used it for decades. I stood there for almost 10 minutes, confused, like my brain had taken a brief vacation and forgotten to notify me. That's when I started to feel it, a quiet fear creeping in. Was this how it starts? Was this the beginning of something worse? I brushed it off at first. I'm just tired. Maybe I didn't sleep well, but the incidents started piling up. I forgot my grandson's school name one afternoon while chatting with a friend. I missed a dental appointment I'd marked clearly on my calendar. And then one morning, I called my daughter by the wrong name and I saw the flicker of concern in her eyes. That was my turning point. It's a strange feeling when you realize your identity isn't as reliable as it once was. I'd spent my entire life priding myself on being mentally sharp. I was the guy who could do mental math faster than a calculator, the one people came to for advice. And now, I felt like I was losing that version of myself. But here's the thing, no one tells you. Mental decline after 60 doesn't always come as a loud crash. Sometimes, it's a quiet fade. You don't even notice the colors dimming until the world feels gray. And sadly, I wasn't alone. I began talking to friends, people I'd known for years, and, to my surprise, almost all of them had similar stories. One buddy of mine forgot the route to his own church. Another couldn't remember the names of all his grandkids at a family gathering. These were smart, capable men, but age was quietly robbing us of something precious. Clarity, focus, peace of mind. Still, the medical checkups kept coming back normal. No dementia, no major cognitive problems. Just aging, they said. That frustrated me, because while my tests were technically normal, I didn't feel normal. I felt foggy, irritable, sluggish. And that's when I realized something important too. Don't need a diagnosis to know your brain isn't working at its best. You can feel it. And if you feel it, you can do something about it. I started reading. A lot. I dove into medical journals, neuroscience podcasts, even books written by people well into their 90s who still had sharp minds. And the deeper I went, the more I realized this simple truth. Mental decline isn't inevitable. It's reversible. And it starts with small daily choices. That realization changed everything for me. But before I share the ritual that turned things around, which I'll get into in the next section, I want to speak directly to anyone watching this who might relate to what I've said so far. If you're over 60 and feel like your mind is a little foggier than it used to be, if names slip away faster, if you're rereading the same sentence multiple times in a book, or you've started relying on sticky notes, calendar reminders, and lists more than ever before, let me tell you, you're not alone and not helpless. What I experienced wasn't just normal aging, it was my brain sending me a signal, a quiet cry for help, and I'm so grateful I listened. I look back now and think, what if I hadn't paid attention? What if I had just accepted that this was how life would be from now on? Dull, distracted, forgetful. That wasn't the kind of legacy I wanted to live or leave behind. No, I wanted to be the grandparent who remembered every birthday, the spouse who stayed present in every conversation, the elder who shared wisdom clearly and confidently. And to do that, I had to reclaim my mental health. But here's what's even more important. The earlier you start, the better your results. But even if you're 70 or 80, it's not too late. Because what I learned is this. The brain can heal. It can grow. It can adapt. Even in our later years. That's not wishful thinking, it's backed by science. But it starts by paying attention to the signs. So if you've been ignoring them like I did for a while, if you've brushed off your forgetfulness as just another senior moment, I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I really okay with this? Or do I want to do something about it starting today? Because the next part of this journey is where everything started to shift for me. In the next section, I'll tell you about the exact moment I knew something had to change. A small but powerful wake-up call that hit me like a freight train. And I'll show you what I did with that moment that ultimately saved my mental health. So stick with me. This story's just getting started. I remember the exact moment everything changed. It wasn't dramatic. There were no sirens, No medical emergency, no shouting. Just silence on the look in my grandson's eyes. It was a quiet Sunday morning. My daughter had dropped off my two grandkids for a few hours while she ran errands. We were having one of our usual lazy breakfast pancakes, scrambled eggs, and orange juice. The kind of meal I used to whip up without even thinking. I'd made it 100 times before, but that morning, things were off. I burned the eggs. I forgot to add milk to the pancake batter. I even left the stove on while we were eating, which I only noticed when the pan started smoking behind me. My grandson, 8 years old and sharper than a tack, looked at me and said, "Grandpa, are you okay?" That hit me hard. Kids don't pretend, they don't sugarcoat. They just say what they see. And in that moment, I realized he saw something wasn't right. He saw what I had been trying to hide. I gave him a reassuring smile, joked that Grandpa's brain just needed more coffee. But inside I was shaken. When they left that afternoon, I sat alone in the living room and stared at the carpet for a long time. I wasn't just embarrassed, was scared, because deep down, I knew this wasn't just forgetfulness or distraction. Something inside me wasn't firing the way it used to. That night, I lay in bed for hours, my mind racing. I thought about my father. He'd been a brilliant man, a teacher, a chess player, the kind of guy who could quote Shakespeare and fix a lawnmower in the same afternoon. But in his late 70s, we started to lose him, little by little. First it was confusion. Then he couldn't remember where he lived. By the end, he didn't even recognize my mother. I'd watched that decline up close. I'd seen the toll it took on him and on us. And as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, one terrifying question echoed in my mind. Is that what's happening to me? I didn't want to end up like that. I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want my grandkids to grow up remembering me as the forgetful old man. So the next morning, I made a decision. No more pretending. No more excuses. If there was even a chance I could do something to protect my brain, too slow or even reverse what was happening, I was going to take it. And that decision was the true beginning of my transformation. I started by making an appointment with my doctor, not for anything specific, but just to talk. I wanted to know what was really going on. After some basic cognitive assessments, he told me what I'd feared but also hoped. There's no sign of dementia yet, but you're definitely showing signs of mild cognitive decline. It was both terrifying and relieving. Terrifying because it confirmed my suspicion, but relieving because I still had time. The window wasn't closed yet. Then he said something that changed my mindset. Your brain is like a muscle. The more you use it the right way, the better it performs even at your age. That idea that I could actually train my brain to improve fired me up like nothing else had in years. I was used to thinking that aging was a slow downhill slide, that once things started slipping, they were gone for good. But what if they weren't? What if the brain could bounce back? What if the right habits could actually heal it? That was the wake-up call I needed. I went home that day and dove deep into research. Not just random articles online, but real science. I found studies from Harvard, Stanford, even the Mayo Clinic, all pointing to the same conclusion. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections, doesn't stop in your 60s or even your 80s. That blew my mind. I also learned that many seniors don't suffer from memory loss because of old age. They suffer because of things like chronic stress, which kills brain cells, poor sleep, which interrupts memory formation, lack of mental stimulation, inflammation from processed foods, sedentary lifestyle, and low oxygen flow to the brain. Good news, all of those things are fixable. I realized my brain wasn't broken, it was neglected. That's when I made a list. I called it Operation Wake Up Brain. It had 3 goals: clear the fog, get rid of brain fog, irritability, and mental fatigue, sharpen focus, improve my attention, recall, and problem solving, boost mood, feel more positive, balanced, and motivated. And then, I did something bold. I cleared my schedule for 2 weeks. I turned off the TV. I unplugged from social media. I gave myself permission to focus 100% on my brain health. No distractions, just healing. Every day, I experimented with new habits one at a time. I journaled everything. I paid close attention to what helped and what didn't. And what I discovered in that short window was nothing short of life-changing. But I'll get to those habits in the next sections. For now, I want to emphasize this. We all have wake-up calls. Some are loud, some are quiet. Mine came in the form of burned eggs and a child's innocent question. Yours might come differently, a forgotten name, a missed appointment, or maybe just a lingering feeling that something is off. But however it comes, don't ignore it, because your brain, your true self, is worth fighting for. And that fight doesn't start with pills or doctors. It starts with a decision to say, enough is enough. I'm taking control of my mental health. That's what I did. And in the next section, I'll share the exact daily ritual that became the foundation of my brain transformation, a habit so simple you could start it tomorrow, and trust me, you'll want to. After my wake-up call, I spent a couple of weeks experimenting, trying different techniques I had read about to improve brain health. I tried brain games, puzzles, even supplements that promised clearer thinking. Some of it helped, Some of it didn't, but the thing that made the biggest difference, the habit that truly changed the way I felt every single day, was something so simple I nearly overlooked it. It started with a single word I kept seeing over and over again in medical journals and brain health books: mindfulness. At first, I thought mindfulness was just another buzzword. You know, something yoga instructors say in YouTube videos while sitting cross-legged on a mountaintop. I didn't see how that could possibly help someone like me, an ordinary man in his 60s worried about his memory. But as I kept digging, I came across a study from UCLA that stopped me in my tracks. It showed that older adults who practiced daily mindfulness meditation had better memory, improved emotional regulation, and even more gray matter in key parts of the brain, including the hippocampus, which controls memory. More gray matter. After keen. That sounded like science fiction, but it wasn't. That very evening, I pulled up a beginner's meditation video on my tablet, sat down in my recliner, and followed along. Just 10 minutes. That's all it was. And let me be honest, it felt weird at first. Sitting still, eyes closed, breathing slowly, trying not to think. My mind was racing with thoughts like, am I doing this right? This is silly. I could be watching the news right now. But something told me to stick with it, so I made a promise to myself. 10 minutes, every morning. Just 1 week. That's how my daily ritual began. Day 1 felt clumsy. I couldn't focus. My thoughts wandered constantly. But afterward, I noticed something interesting. I felt calmer, just a little more grounded. By day 3, I realized I wasn't snapping at people as much. The irritability that had been creeping into my mornings, the kind that made me feel foggy and short-tempered, was fading. By day 7, something shifted. I woke up with more clarity. I could remember what I had to do that day without checking my calendar 3 times. I even recalled the name of an old friend I hadn't spoken to in years, something that had escaped me the week before. That's when I knew I was onto something. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, meditation isn't for me, let me explain what I actually did, because it wasn't sitting cross-legged or chanting mantras. My ritual was simple. I sat in a chair with my feet flat on the ground. I closed my eyes and focused on my breathing, just in and out, slowly. When my mind wandered, and it always did, I gently brought it back to the breath. After 5 minutes, I shifted my attention to how I was feeling that day, physically, emotionally, mentally. Then I ended with one positive thought or intention. That's it. 10 minutes. Every morning, no incense, no apps, no fancy setup. Over time, something extraordinary happened. My mind started slowing down, but in a good way. I used to feel like my brain was a noisy highway, with thoughts zooming by so fast I couldn't catch them. But now it felt like a peaceful country road. Still busy, but manageable. I became more present. I noticed details I had missed before: the color of the sky at sunrise, the warmth of my coffee cup, the sound of my grandkids laughing in the other room. My memory improved because my attention improved. I wasn't on autopilot anymore, and here's the most powerful part: my emotions stabilized. I used to wake up anxious for no reason, that quiet kind of dread that follows you through the day. But after a few weeks of this ritual, that feeling melted away. I felt steady, clear, content. Even my family noticed. My daughter pulled me aside one afternoon and said, "Dad, you just seem more like you again." That nearly brought tears to my eyes. Let's talk science for a moment, because this isn't just a personal story, it's backed by research. Daily mindfulness and deep breathing lowers cortisol, the stress hormone that kills brain cells, improves oxygen flow to the brain, stimulates the vagus nerve, which calms the nervous system, increases gray matter in areas linked to memory, empathy, and emotional balance, helps regulate blood pressure, which is directly linked to brain health after 60. And unlike expensive medications or therapies, this ritual is free. You can do it anywhere, and it doesn't require years of practice, just consistency. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have time for this. If you have time to drink your morning tea, scroll your phone, or read the newspaper, you have time for 10 minutes of this. I can't sit still. That's okay. Start with 2 minutes. Even just breathing slowly for a few minutes each day can start rewiring your brain. I'm too old to start. That's simply not true. The oldest person in one of the studies I read was 88 years old and saw major benefits within 6 weeks. It's not about perfection. It's about showing up for your mind one day at a time. Now, I've kept this ritual going for over a year. I never imagined I'd be someone who meditates. But now, I can't imagine starting my day without it. It's like brushing my teeth but for my brain. And here's the best part. It was just the first domino. Once I saw how powerful this one habit was, I became inspired to add more small changes to my daily routines that worked together to support my mental clarity, energy, and emotional balance. In the next section, I'll share exactly what those changes were. Simple tweaks to my diet, sleep, movement, and social life that took my brain health to a whole new level. So if you're ready to stack the benefits and create a lifestyle that supports your brain long term, you won't want to miss what's coming next. T-person storytelling style. Once I saw how much the simple mindfulness ritual improved my focus and emotional stability, I began to wonder, what else am I doing every day that could either help or hurt my brain? That question changed everything. See, for most of my life, I never thought of my brain as something I could nurture. I thought it either worked or it didn't. If I was forgetful, I assumed it was just because I was getting older. If I felt tired or overwhelmed, I blamed it on life. But now, I started seeing my brain as a living, breathing part of me, one that needed care, attention, and daily maintenance. And so I began a quiet mission to redesign my life in small ways too. Stack new habits on top of the morning ritual I'd already built. Not overwhelming changes, just subtle shifts. And each one, I found, brought another layer of mental clarity. Let me walk you through exactly what I did and how you can start doing it too. 1. I upgraded my brain's fuel without going on a crazy diet. Let me be honest, I love food. I've always had a soft spot for things like toast with jam, sugary tea, and buttery roti. And while I wasn't eating terribly, I wasn't eating intentionally either. But during my research, I discovered something crucial. What you eat literally, it becomes your brain. Every cell in your brain, every synapse, every neurotransmitter is built from the raw materials you give it. And after 60, our digestive systems slow down. So what we do eat matters even more. So I made 3 small dietary shifts. I added omega-3 rich foods like walnuts and chia seeds. I didn't start taking expensive fish oil pills, just added a handful of these to my breakfast. I reduced processed sugar. That meant skipping sweet biscuits with my tea and cutting soda altogether. Sugar spikes lead to inflammation in the brain, and I could feel the fog lift within days of cutting back. I began drinking more water. Simple but powerful. Dehydration shrinks brain tissue and slows down communication between cells. I now keep a glass on my nightstand and start every day with a full drink before my first sip of coffee. I didn't go on a diet. I just became aware. And within a few weeks, I noticed something remarkable. My afternoon crashes disappeared. I had more steady energy throughout the day and fewer mood swings. 2. I fixed my sleep without sleeping pills. I used to wear poor sleep like a badge of honor. I'd brag that I could get by on 5 or 6 hours. But let me tell you, nothing damages a senior brain faster than chronic sleep deprivation. The brain clears out toxins during sleep. It files memories, repairs cells, resets mood. Without it, everything suffers. So I made it a priority, not by adding medication, but by making the bedroom a place of calm. Here's what I changed. No screens an hour before bed. The blue light from phones and TVs was tricking my brain into thinking it was still daytime. Cooler bedroom temperature. I set the AC to around 67 degrees Fahrenheit or 19 degrees Celsius, which, believe it or not, helps the brain fall into deeper sleep. A short gratitude reflection. Before bed, just 3 things I was thankful for that day. It quieted my mind and shifted my focus from worry to peace. The result. I started waking up refreshed, not groggy, not dreading the day, just balanced. And over time, that consistent sleep translated into better focus, more patience, and sharper recall. 3. I started moving more but gently. For years, I thought exercise meant sweating in a gym or jogging through the neighborhood. That idea always turned me off. My knees aren't what they used to be, and honestly, I don't enjoy intense workouts. But then I read something that changed my mind. Movement isn't just for muscles, it's for memory. Studies show that even moderate movement increases blood flow to the brain, stimulates growth of new neurons, and boosts the feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. So I didn't join a gym. I didn't buy fancy equipment. I started walking. Every morning after my meditation, I'd go outside for a 15-minute stroll around the block. No phone, no headphones, just walking, breathing, looking at the trees, saying hello to neighbors. It became like a moving meditation, and on days when I couldn't go outside, I'd stretch gently on a mat in my living room. Shoulder rolls, toe touches, deep breathing. That little bit of movement done consistently made me feel alive again. It shook off the sluggishness. It helped me sleep better, and it made my mind feel more alert throughout the day. For I reconnected with people who made me feel good. This was one I didn't expect to have such a big impact. But loneliness, it creeps in as we age. Friends move away, kids get busy, our social world shrinks, and our minds do too. Isolation isn't just sad, it's dangerous. Research links it to cognitive decline, depression, even early death. So I made a rule. 1 meaningful connection every day. Whether it was a phone call, a visit, or a chat at the grocery store, I made sure to speak to someone with genuine interest. I also joined a local book club at the senior center. I didn't care so much about the books, I just wanted real conversations, laughter, debates. That one social outlet became one of the best parts of my week. Suddenly, my brain had more stimulation, more life. 5. I created a no-noise hour every afternoon. We live in a noisy world. News alerts, social media, loud TV shows, constant chatter. It's like our brains never get a break. So I created what I now call my mental reset hour. Every afternoon I turn everything off. I sit on the porch, drink tea, or listen to soft music. Sometimes I write in a journal. Sometimes I do nothing, but I give my brain permission to rest. And here's the weird part. That 1 hour of stillness gave me more creativity, better memory, and a deep sense of calm. It was like giving my brain a spa treatment every day now. You might be thinking, that's a lot of changes, but here's the truth: it didn't feel like a lot, because I added them one by one. And each habit gave me more energy, which made it easier to add the next. These weren't drastic life overhauls, they were micro shifts. But stacked together, they created a powerful mental transformation. I'm not saying I have the brain of a 25-year-old now, but I no longer live in fear of decline. I feel present, engaged, and sharp. I can hold conversations without losing my words. I can enjoy moments without being distracted or overwhelmed, and most importantly, I feel like myself again. In the next and final section, I'll share the deeper lesson I learned through this journey, and what I would say to you, if you're feeling foggy, forgetful, or frustrated with your brain. Because if there's one thing I've discovered, it's this: it's never too late to reclaim your mind, but you have to start now. When I look back at the last couple of years, I sometimes feel like I'm living in a different body, or more accurately, a different mind. There was a time when I genuinely believed my best mental days were behind me. I thought forgetfulness was just the price of getting older, that fatigue and fog were things I had to put up with, and that my role in life was slowly shrinking to the edges, that I had to make peace with being a bystander rather than a participant. But here, I am now clearer, calmer, and more energized than I've been in decades. I'm not perfect. I still misplace my glasses every now and then, but I no longer live in fear of decline. And more importantly, I trust my brain again. That change didn't come from one big moment. It came from 1,000 small ones. From choosing, every day, to show up for my mind, to give it what it needed, to treat it like something prescient, something doomed to fade. And if I could go back and talk to the version of myself who stood in that grocery aisle, confused and afraid, I would tell him this: you are not broken. You're just out of balance, and it's within your power to fix it. I want to talk directly to you. Now, yes, you reading this or watching this. Maybe you've been feeling like your memory isn't what it used to be. Maybe names slip away, or you lose your train of thought mid-sentence. Maybe you're more emotional than usual, or overwhelmed by things that never used to faze you. Or maybe you just feel tired, like life is happening around you, not with you. Let me tell you something I wish someone had told me sooner. This doesn't have to be your new normal. Forget what society says about aging. Forget the lie that mental decline is inevitable. Yes, we age. Yes, our bodies change. But the brain is remarkably resilient. It's one of the most adaptive, self-healing parts of us if we give it a chance. We now know something that previous generations didn't: neuroplasticity is real. Brain cells can grow, memory can improve, mood can stabilize, and clarity can return. But there's a catch. You have to make the decision. Not next year, not next month, not when things slow down. You have to start now. Let me paint a picture. For you, two people, both 65, same background, same health history, same level of forgetfulness. One shrugs it off and says, it's just age. He keeps eating the same way, staying up late, staying indoors, scrolling on his phone, and hoping it doesn't get worse. The other, she decides to take back control. She starts small, breathing deeply in the morning, walking after breakfast, cutting back on sugar, talking more with friends, journaling her thoughts at night. Fast forward 5 years, who do you think is sharper, happier, more independent? It's not a matter of luck. It's a matter of choice. And yes, it's hard. Change takes effort. But do you know what takes even more effort? Living every day in a fog, feeling like you're losing yourself, worrying that the best parts of you are slipping away. That kind of life is exhausting. What I found is that starting was the hardest part. But once the first few changes took root, like morning mindfulness and short walks, my brain began to reward me. I felt better, more capable, more hopeful, and that hope gave me fuel to keep going. Let's be clear. This isn't about turning back the clock. I'm not trying to be 25 again. I don't want to be. This stage of life has its own power, its own wisdom. What I do want is to be present for it, to remember my grandchildren's faces, to laugh with friends and hold on to the memories, to read a book and follow every sentence, to sit in silence and feel peace, not anxiety. That's what this journey has given me, and if you followed along through these sections, I hope you see now that you can have that too. Let me quickly recap what worked for me just to bring it all home. Daily mindfulness. Just 10 minutes of breathing and stillness each morning grounded my mind and reduced anxiety. Smart nutrition, cutting sugar, adding healthy fats, and hydrating better gave my brain the fuel it had been craving. Better sleep, prioritizing rest, restored my mood and memory in ways I didn't think were possible at my age. Gentle movement, daily walks, and stretching improved circulation, energy, and mental clarity. Meaningful social connection, rebuilding relationships, and joining community groups gave my brain stimulation and purpose. Mental quiet time, creating space away from the digital noise, let my thoughts breathe and reset. Each one of these habits is simple. Together, they're powerful. They didn't just protect my mind, they brought it back to life. Now, as I wrap up this final section, I want to leave you with something deeper than a checklist. I want you to see yourself not as someone who's declining, but as someone who's becoming more self-aware, becoming more intentional, becoming the kind of elder who leads not just with stories, but with clarity and strength. We talk so much about physical health after 60, about calcium and cholesterol and arthritis, but your brain is the master control center of your entire life. When your brain is strong, your body follows. Your relationships improve. Your decisions get clearer. Your days feel lighter. And that starts not with a pill or a program, but with one quiet moment where you say to yourself, I matter. My mind matters, and I'm ready to take care of it. If you've made it to the end of this journey with me, I want to thank you. It takes courage to reflect, to change, to grow at any age. But I promise you, your mind is worth the effort. Your future self will thank you. Your family will thank you. And most importantly, you'll thank yourself. So start today. Start small. Start now, because it's never too late to reclaim the strongest, brightest version of your mind.